So, CJ, when you play against Draymond and he's in this mindset, this pest, I see you smiling. When he's in that pest mindset, what is it like to play against him?
I love it. I love it. It reminds me of my childhood playing in the parks and things of that nature. But I think the referees understand who Dre is as a person. They understand his value to the Warriors. They understand his value to the playoff atmosphere in general. And I always say the best refs know how to monitor the game, not control it. And in the playoffs, you don't want them controlling the outcome of games. They had the understanding of regular season, it's probably a technical. In the playoffs, facing elimination essentially, Golden State goes down 0-2. There's real problems in the Bay Area. And I think they handled that situation accordingly and properly, but Dre's got to be careful because if he puts himself in that position in the Boston Garden, things might be different, especially when the fans start booing.
See, I find that so interesting because it's almost as if he's able to create a double standard for himself while simultaneously calling out the fact that people treat him on a double standard. But for me, I look at this and I say, first of all, is that even fair? Because nobody on the Celtics can do that.
No, he's one of one, and he's CJ brought up the reputation. I think the reputation is important, and referees talk before every game. All right, these two guys have a history together. This guy is going to talk to us. This guy's going to react to us. We have to be measured in everything we do. And I really don't have a problem with the refs looking at this case by case on an individual basis rather than just having some standard protocol. You have to at least acknowledge the moment and how important game 2 of the finals is. And the only thing that he really did to me on that play was the extra sort of leg movement
on his head.
to gently lay both legs on his head and shoulder. That was the extra. That was the extra.
You know what that does, man? That sets a tone for how he expects his team to play in a game of that magnitude. And it almost felt like you didn't see Boston match that. You saw them get a little bit lost into that exchange instead of matching that energy.
Okay, so CJ, are the Celtics in trouble if Draymond continues to play like that and take advantage of this, let's call it, system?
Are the Celtics in trouble?
I don't think the Celtics are in trouble. They did what they were supposed to do. They went and stole game 1. No idea how they won that game down 14 going into fourth quarter. They're good. They only had to win once on the road. And to be honest with you, the entire playoffs, they've been better on the road than they have been at home. So I think they have to change their mindset. I don't know if it's sleeping in your own bed. I don't know if it's the comfort of driving your car to work or whatever the case may be for them. But they got to tighten up at home because they really have a chance to get rid of these Warriors.
But I'm saying even in the pest mode, though, Draymond in this key pest agitator mode, they don't have anybody like that.
Smart.
That can get. So I'm saying, does that put the Celtics in a tough spot?
Smart is physical.
Okay.
Defensive player here. He's going to get into him. He's the one that's going to respond. Obviously, you got Grant Williams, you got those guys. But Tatum and Brown, they got to keep their cool. They're too valuable to the franchise to be involved in the riffraff. But Smart's the one who's going to pick it up, especially considering how he was in foul trouble in game 2 and he didn't really play like his normal self.
JJ, I'm curious. What supporting cast do you think will come through when it's all said and done? Because sometimes I watch Golden State, and I look at Boston, even though they didn't play well last night, I feel like the athleticism and how they play gives them an edge when it's all said and done with that supporting cast.
You're talking about guys like Marcus Smart and Derek White, Robert Williams, Al Horford. Yeah, I think ultimately the Celtics win the series, and I do think it's going to rest on that supporting cast. And defensively, they're giving Klay Thompson problems. Jordan Poole really struggled in game 1, and even though he had a big third quarter last night, he didn't have a great shooting night. Ultimately, and by the way, those guys that I just mentioned for the Celtics, they were awful last night. I think they combined for like 16 points. They did not have a good game. You mentioned Marcus Smart being in foul trouble, 1 for 6 last night. Ultimately, it's going to be the supporting cast, I do believe, that's going to decide this series. I think the Boston has the advantage there.
2 points for Smart, 2 points for Horford. That cannot continue if they're going to win this series. So, Jay, who do you think has control of this series at this point?
I mean, I would agree with JJ. I have to get a slight edge going back to Boston, even though they haven't played well at home. Klay Thompson, being 4 of 19 last night. Look, I've always said this about Klay. Like, I think Klay coming back off his injuries has been phenomenal, right? But there still feels like there is a little bit of a pop or a burst that I don't see that was the old Klay. And I think the younger wings of Boston kind of bring that out and they showcase that. They're going to need him to be significant, but I'd probably get a slight edge to Boston now going back home.
Okay, the Warriors are hearing that. I'm sure Draymond is hearing that and saying, okay, you give them that edge. We'll see what happens in game 3.
I'm not playing. He don't even take my motivation.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.